people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Chesterfield Emergency Service.
You're doing good hands here.
In a crisis, we often are reminded that only the narrowest of margins separate success from total disaster. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of caring people who fight to keep hope alive on Rescue 911. We begin on April 7th, 1991 in Sutton, Massachusetts, as Russian emigre Simon Besher and his family set out to explore some of the beauty of their new country.
That's so cool. Let's go check it out.
It was a nice spring day, and we decided to go to Purgatory Chasm.
You guys take it easy.
It's a very rocky place with the caves on the bottom and very high cliffs.
Simon and his wife Olga had never taken their family hiking in Purgatory Chasm before.
Friends of ours told us it's very beautiful, it's unusual and interesting. We like to see new places, we like go out, we like American nature.
My brother Greg, he's 14 years old. Sometimes he can be very annoying. But he's a nice guy too.
Greg often spent time with his brother's children, especially Philip, Simon's 12-year-old son.
We were really good friends, and if he didn't came to America with me, who would I play with? Who would I go fishing with? Who would I fight with?
They went down to the caves, they went up to the top of the hill, and they were just running around the place.
Simon tried to stop them. So all the time he told them, stop, it's enough. Don't run like a crazy, just sit down.
Their faces were red like tomatoes.
I said, well, it's all right. It's a perfect place for them, they can play.
Several people hiking nearby heard the children's cries for help, including park ranger David Pottles.
I looked down and there was someone lying on the opposite side of the chasm floor. I watched for a few seconds and didn't see any movement. I realized in the rocky area that he fell that his injuries had to be substantial.
David reported the accident to the local police department.
Sutton PD, Officer Rodwell.
An officer on patrol just outside the park was immediately dispatched to the scene.
Victim has fallen from the chasm.
From more than 15 miles away, the nearest advanced life support unit was also sent, including paramedic Raymond Cord.
We frequently get calls down there for sprained ankles, people who scrape their knees, so we initially thought it was just another one of those chasm-type calls.
Hold your head still.
I was really scared. He was crying in Russian, he was crying in English. He was complaining on the pain. He couldn't breathe.
Where you fell from? Oh my God.
I am trained paramedic in my background, and I've seen lots of cases like this. And I thought he was just the bag with the bones.
When we continue,
And I asked, is this the rock he fell from? And everybody said no and pointed up to the top of the cliff.
14-year-old Greg Bescher was hiking with his older brother's family when he fell off a cliff, plunging 35 feet to the ground below. Though rescue units were on their way to the scene, Greg's family had no idea how much longer he could survive without help.
Greg was like screaming that he couldn't breathe and stuff, cried very loud, and I was thinking in my head that if nobody's gonna rescue him, then he's gonna die.
Okay, you go home. Move your head. Try not to move your head.
the first police officer on the scene was Lieutenant John Annis.
Keep him stable.
Okay.
Get somebody to get him.
Well, we'll try, but...
There's a lump that forms in your throat, and that lump is, you're in fear for him because it was a long drop. I had to go back to the cruiser because our portables don't work too well in the chasm because of the ledges.
Please send the ambulance and the rescue squad down to Purgatory.
When Lieutenant Annis radioed in the seriousness of the situation, the Sutton Fire Department dispatched a unit specially trained in mountain rescues.
Okay, try to hold your head. I gotta hold your head. No, I gotta hold you. We gotta hold you.
Is somebody coming or not?
I gotta hold your head. Let's go down there.
Paramedic Cord arrived within 20 minutes.
There was a large rock next to him, and that's what we assumed he fell off of.
Good. His name is Greg. I'm his brother.
Greg, okay.
Greg, try to relax.
At that point, I asked, is this the rock he fell from? And everybody said no and pointed up to the top of the cliff.
All the way up? All the way up.
And that's when I knew we had problems. His pulse rate was up and his blood pressure was down. And he didn't have any lung sounds on the left side of his chest.
This is some oxygen for you, Greg.
His lungs were very much like balloons. And his left one, when he hit the ground, just popped.
I can't imagine my son without Greg, Alisa without Greg. Nobody can be the same like a Greg. Very gentle, fun, and loving.
If he'd fallen flat on his back, he could have fractured his spine, and so we were working to immobilize him.
One wrong jolt, and he could have been paralyzed the rest of his life. It was too rough for any one group to carry him.
A human chain was formed to pass the boy up out of the chasm.
All the time. Hold your head still, Greg. Keep it level.
They carry him like a coffin, and they take a turn and they pass him to another hands.
I was with Gregory all the time, and I could see all these people being so great. The basket was moving so fast and so smoothly, like it was moving by itself.
Pass again. I got it. Okay. Right through this way. Keep it level. Okay. Here's the IV. I got it. Hang on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Take it slow. Take it slow.
They were going as fast as they could, as carefully as they could, and I didn't want them to panic and drop him, so I didn't tell them that he was getting a lot worse.
On the rock. Careful.
The left side of his chest was rapidly expanding because of the pressure that was building up inside, which presses against the good lung and his heart, so they don't work as well. His breathing was getting much worse. His vital signs were getting worse. His blood pressure was falling, and he was rapidly deteriorating.
Raymond radioed ahead to St. Vincent Hospital and spoke with the emergency physician on duty, Dr. Bob McCarran.
Dr. McCarran, over. They basically fed me a very specific picture that required a specific treatment. And a few minutes could be the difference between the kid surviving and not surviving.
Still very diminished on the left.
We asked him permission to place a needle through his chest wall and relieve the pressure that is built up from the hole in his lung. It's an invasive technique. It's a dangerous technique. It's a last-ditch effort to save someone's life.
The delicate procedure was performed en route. After 20 minutes, Greg arrived at the hospital in critical condition.
All set. Got him nasally intubated. Pressure's coming up, his heart rate's going down. They took EKG and a whole bunch of x-rays. And then I had to call my parents.
I was so afraid to call them. You know, in the morning, we took healthy and happy child. We took them for our responsibility, and now what do we have?
Greg's parents, Frida and Roman Besher, rushed to the hospital to be with their son.
Когда мы приехали в госпиталь, и нас провели...
When we came to the hospital and we were brought into Greg's room, we were shocked. He was hooked up to tubes, multiple tubes. He was completely in this tube web. It was an awful scene.
They told us that he broke his skull, his back, and his ribs, and that both of his lungs is cut. So, because I'm a doctor, I could understand how it's dangerous and what could be.
Greg's family stayed at the hospital 24 hours a day, while his condition slowly improved.
He just took 50 years from our lives. Sometimes I think he forgot what happened to him. Can you hear me? Sometimes I think he doesn't remember this horror. Open your eyes. But he's got no permanent damage, and he's again in pain. He really can be pain in the neck.
Greg Besher spent 2 months in a body cast recovering from his injuries.
I had the cast from my chest to my knee for 2 months, and then from my chest to my waist for 1 month. So the worst part was to be, itchy and not take a shower for a long time.
I want to thank everybody who saved my son. People helped us from the beginning, from the first moment. God bless America, and God bless American people.
If I saw those paramedics, I would say thanks to them. And I would say, keep up a good work. And I would say, I wouldn't run around in that place again.
I was really worried about him because we've been in body so long, and how am I gonna do? How am I gonna be without him?
The worst part he would go through if I died. He would be very bored.
He's gentle, and he's a lot of fun. He's a great kid. I love him.
Next.
Aaron had a firecracker in his room. A kid at school walked up to him and said, "Hey, Aaron, here," and gave it to him.